What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're bringing it back to our Nicholas Sparks marathon of films with his fourth adaptation, Nights in Rodanthe. This is the second of his films that I've never actually seen before. In my youth, the mere idea of older people falling in love was absurdly vomit-inducing, but as I've grown older, my understanding of life has matured, and I've been able to relate to these older characters falling in love more, as I've already mentioned before in my review for Message in a Bottle, and a little bit of The Notebook as well. There's weight and baggage that comes along with a mature relationship, which means that the people falling in love have that much more to accept about the other person. I'd actually say because I'm no longer a teen, it's the teen romance films that are now cringeworthy. So let's trudge along with our inexhaustible Nicholas Sparks marathon, and let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, inexhaustible, relating to something you'll never run out of. Nights in Rodanthe takes a couple of strangers that come together under one roof in Rodanthe, North Carolina. A bed and breakfast particularly, which Adrienne, a single mother, is looking after for her friend. When Paul, a doctor, shows up in town, he needs a place to stay, and he picks the bed and breakfast that Adrienne is working at. Both are struggling with personal dilemmas, but they're both willing to help the other overcome the issues with the power of love. I don't hate Nicholas Sparks like a lot of other guys do. I respect and even have fun with a lot of his movies, but I'm always a little bit weary when I come across one of his films that for whatever reason I skipped out on when it first came out. Fact is, I've never really cared for Richard Gere. He's a handsome looking guy, sure, but he's like a lot of women actors out there that can't act as well as they look. He's not a horrible actor by any means, no, but I personally never bought into many of his performances in the past, and I still don't really buy it now, especially if it has anything to do with romance. Now, if he does a thriller, like with Primal Fear, then we're talking. But if we're just talking about looks, he fits the role. He fits it really, really well. He looks good on the poster, and so does Diane Lane. They both look fantastic on the screen together. I could see them bringing in a crowd simply because they look the part, but I don't think they have that much chemistry. In fact, on this marathon of films I've been watching, I would say they actually have the worst chemistry out of any of them. Maybe that's because I don't like Richard Gere that much. Maybe it's because Diane Lane doesn't always pull off her performances. Because that's just it. I didn't fully believe her either. She's going through a dilemma on whether or not to choose to be with her husband again, a man who left her, hurt her, whatever. You know while watching exactly what's going to happen. So this entire side story feels useless and tedious. Then again, if you removed that side story, all you would have is Richard Gere and Diane Lane from beginning to end, and they don't have the best chemistry. Like I said, it's a bit of a catch-22. I will say that the look of the movie is gorgeous. Again, with the looks, it's a bit shallow if you think about it, but the best parts of the movie are what it looks like. I've already said the cast looks great in the roles and on the poster, and then you have the house on the beach. That's very much a character in the film, as is the beach itself, and as such, they look incredibly unique, and they help it stand out. I also like these characters, at least on paper. I might not believe any of the actors' portrayals of said characters, but I was fine with the characters themselves and what they're going through, which is pretty believable, and I could see people connecting with the characters on a certain level, even if I personally didn't. So it's not a horrible film, not by a long shot. Instead, I would call the entire thing mostly safe and monotonous. Well, what do I mean by that? I mean that a majority of the movie is bland. It's bland on a technical level, it's bland on an entertainment level. Everything that it does from beginning to end is neither anything that stands out as great, nor stands out as terrible. The whole movie is somewhere in the middle, and middle ground is where you risk becoming forgettable. And I believe Nights in Rodanthe is a forgettable but competent romance. It follows a lot of romance tropes that Nicholas Sparks is known for, such as a theme or two revolving around death. There's a scene with a lot of rain that ends with a kiss. And of course, it answers the question on what you're willing to do for love. That last question isn't as strong as the other films, though, which again contributes to the overall feeling of blandness. And as far as the ending, sometimes I understand what Nicholas Sparks is going for and find it poetic in a way. Sometimes I think it feels unwarranted. This is one of those times where the latter fits my experience. I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. I won't spoil you on what actually happens, but if you've seen it, let's talk about it in the comments down below. So I guess, spoiler alert to you guys that haven't seen the movie and are reading the comments, don't do that. I don't know, let's go ahead and talk about final score. From both an unbiased and biased vantage point, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's fine, but it's incredibly safe and forgettable on all fronts. From a technical level, like I said, it does a good job standing out as far as what the movie looks like. but everything else is rather bland, 54% for the unbiased score. My personal bias rating is a little bit higher at 56% because, as usual, romance films are more about connecting with an audience, and I did say that I could see some people connecting with it even if I didn't. And I know it has a fan base, it's just not for me. Averaging out the two scores together, we come to a final rating of 55%, 55 out of 100 possible stars, granting Nights in Rodanthe with the highest F score you can possibly get. You can't just be safe. You can't just continue making safe decision after safe decision. You need to take risks. The more risks you take, the more your film will stand out as unique and memorable. Even if it's horrible, people will remember it. And heck, it could end up being so bad that it's good, technically speaking. So when you stay in that safe zone, this is what happens. It just ends up being mediocre and nothing special. Take that as you will. Guys, let me know your thoughts on Nights in Rodanthe in the comments down below. As far as Nicholas Sparks films and stories go, where would you rank this one? As for YouTube, you guys know what to do. If you enjoyed this movie, consider hitting the thumbs up button because that always helps out my channel. And hit the subscribe button and bell to be notified when I come out with my next Nicholas Sparks movie review, which should be Dear John. And until then, guys, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie pick. Thanks for joining up with us.